clients who have spoken here and have had the courage to stand up for their rights and for all of us, and making sure that the injustice from this company is redressed. And I also want to thank my friend Arturo Rodriguez, who has been for 30 years with me on the barriers, fighting on this issue. Arturo's father-in-law, Cesar Chavez, was the founder of the Farm Workers Union. His last great crusade at the time of his death was trying to get some kind of handle on worker safety in his industry by eliminating pesticide use, or at least informing the people who work in those industries of the kind of risks that they were undergoing for themselves and their families by handling these pesticides. And of course, the most widespread pesticide is glyphosate and Roundup. The company that makes it, Monsanto, is in a unique position in our country and in the world. I've been litigating against the worst polluters in America for 30 years. But Monsanto stands alone not only for its capacity to sell poison and to market poison, but for its other products. And if you look over here, you'll see Monsanto's attorneys photographing these people as part of a strategy to intimidate them and to manipulate. And that is the other products of this company. It's public relations, it's manipulation, it's deception, it's subversion of democracy, and it's intimidation of people like this, the elimination of people who get in its way. And for many years, I've been battling Monsanto and watching them. Monsanto rolled out these strategies with its first product, Saccharin. The federal government in 1901 sued Saccharin glyphosate. It's a product of coal tar dyes. It has no food benefit, no nutritional benefit, but Monsanto was able to back away that lawsuit. And in doing so, they learned the techniques that they would roll out on all of their products, whether it was uranium production during the Manhattan Project, or there was PCBs, which I have direct experience with. PCBs that were dumped, which were manufactured by Monsanto, dumped in the Hudson River, put 2,000 fishermen, my clients, permanently out of work. The Hudson River is now an international model for ecosystem protection. It is one of the richest fishery in the North Atlantic, but we can't eat the fish because Monsanto put its toxic PCBs into that fish, and everybody in the Hudson Valley has Monsanto's PCBs in our flesh and in our organs. And I didn't give Monsanto permission to put its PCBs, which are carcinogenic, which are endocrine disruptors, which are toxic, into my body. But nevertheless, they put them there. And when we got them to get them out of the fish, when we alerted the federal government and the regulators, they wrote memos within that company saying, we've got big inventories of PCBs, we got to get rid of them. The regulation is inevitable. It's coming, so we need to get rid of these inventories. And they devised a clock, which they told their sales force, redouble your efforts, and they incentivized them to sell them to public schools all over this country. So almost 20% of the public schools today in America have toxic PCB caulk that was manufactured and marketed by this company, so that every time that those classrooms heat up, it volatilizes. And we now know that, according to David Carpenter, who's the national expert on PCBs, that a single molecule of PCBs can cause sexual disruption, the sexual development of a child, and can cause IQ loss, permanent IQ loss. And all the other products, whether it's atrazine or Agent Orange, which they were able, again, in all of these products, you see the same kind of strategies rolled out. They roll out a toxin, and then they get government officials and these phony scientists that we call tobacco scientists or biostitutes to go out and produce this phony tobacco science in order to confuse the public and to confuse the issue. And they hire sharp lawyers to come and say there's no real problem with this. There's people against us. And with Agent Orange, for example, they were able to get an ally within the CDC who for 15 years generated phony science to pretend that Agent Orange was not damaging to our troops. And they didn't have to pay, the VA shouldn't have to pay those troops. And Congress finally moved in and did its own studies and said CDC had been lying about that. And they began giving, and today, even today, there are veterans who are having children with birth defects. There are veterans suffering from a grim inventory of cancers because of that product that Monsanto was lying about all that time. Atrazine or aspartame is a really good example of that strategy that anybody who deals with Monsanto ought to know about the history of aspartame. Aspartame was indisputably toxic. It causes mania. It causes violence. It causes depression. It causes blindness. It causes seizures. When Monsanto said we are going to try to market this as a sweetener for soft drinks, the Soft Drink Association in this country went crazy. And they said, there's no way we're going to put that in. But Monsanto was able to show them that aspartame was more addictive than crack. And if they put it in those drinks, that people would drink the drinks and that no matter how much they were sued, the marketing that they got, the revenues that they got from that addictive substance would exceed the cost of those lawsuits. They still had two other problems. They had FDA, which caught them lying on their science and was able to get the U.S. attorney to impanel a grand jury to investigate them with the eye to putting them in jail. What did Monsanto do? It hired the U.S. attorney and ran out the statute of limitations. But they still had one other problem, which was Jared Goyan and Donald Kennedy, who were running FDA under the Carter administration, who said, over our dead bodies will aspartame ever be marketed to American consumers. So what did they do? They hired Donald Rumsfeld as a CEO specifically to run aspartame through the FDA. As soon as Ronald Reagan became president, the day after his inauguration, Donald Rumsfeld called him. Ronald Reagan called in a favor, and Ronald Reagan fired the head of FDA, Jared Goyan, and hired Monsanto's hand-picked successor, Arthur Hall, who immediately approved aspartame. Millions and millions and tens of millions of Americans have drank that ever since. And then when Arthur Hall lost his job because of corruption, he was then hired by Monsanto. So these are the techniques that they use. Wherever you see large-scale environmental injury or injuries of this kind that are being suffered by these people, you will also see the subversion of democracy. You'll see the capture of the agencies that are supposed to protect Americans from pollution. You'll see the corruption of public officials. You'll see the compromise of the media. If you read The Hill this morning, supposedly an independent newspaper, you will see an article there that was written by a Monsanto troll. You'll see the destruction of local democracy and local control. And these are all techniques that Monsanto is an expert at. So it's no surprise that they don't like the decision by the International Agency for the Research on Cancer, the most prestigious scientific agency in the world, the gold standard for scientific research, recognized by 26 nations, by 16 states. Everybody recognizes their science as the best. But what does Monsanto do? They don't like that IARC. They don't like it because they can't control it. They can't do the things they do at EPA. For example, recently, because we found all of these Monsanto PCBs in schools. What did Monsanto do? It got legislation in Congress and the Senate that said they are immune from any injuries caused by their PCBs in our schools. So they're able to manipulate the U.S. Senate and legislature. These are toadies and sock puppets. And their chief toady is a senator from Texas, a congressman from Texas called Lamar Smith. Lamar Smith, environmentalists don't know him as a congressman from Texas. We call him the congressman from Monsanto. So now Lamar Smith is trying to defund IARC and to discredit them and to attack them. And you, as reporters and journalists, have to understand that when you read something about Monsanto, they are experts at cultivating phony scientists, at planting deceptive articles in newspapers, at manipulating the political system. This company is not just a threat to American health. This company is a threat to our democracy, to our values, to the whole ideas of truth and honesty and decency. This company is a criminal enterprise. This company has been poisoning in Americans for generations, and now they want to look at what they're trying to do here. It's not, this listing is not going to put them out of business. It's just going to warn people before they use their product that this product may cause cancer, and you better limit your use to protect yourself and to protect your family. It's called the precautionary principle. Who wouldn't want to know that? Why does this company not want these farm workers to know that this chemical may endanger them and may endanger their families? Why did they hire these great lawyers to come up here, shut California up, and to stop California from protecting these people? That's what the press needs to ask themselves. We're not protecting the environment so much for the sake of the fishes and the birds. We're protecting it for our sake, because we recognize that nature is the infrastructure of our community. And that if we want to meet our obligation as a generation, as a civilization, as a nation, which is to create communities for our children, that provide them with the same opportunities for dignity and enrichment and prosperity and good health as the communities that our parents gave us, we've got to start by protecting our environmental infrastructure, the air we breathe, the water we drink. This company, all of the values, Thomas Jefferson said about our country that it would not survive if corporations took over farming. That our American democracy had to be rooted in tens of thousands of independent freeholds owned by family farmers operating independently, or it wouldn't work. Well, Monsanto's stated goal to its shareholders is world domination of the food supply. So what do? They have a marriage, this evil marriage between GMO crops and chemical pesticides. And 2 weeks ago, the New York Times printed a comprehensive analysis that said that marriage has not helped American agriculture. It has not resulted in greater yields for American agriculture. In Germany and France, where they ban these GMO plants, they're actually producing better than we are. So they're not helping us, but they're helping themselves. And look at the lengths they go to put little farmers out of business, anybody who's going to compete with them. If their Terminator seeds blow onto the neighboring farm, you know what they do? That's an organic farm. They will sue that farmer and put him out of business because he can't fight Monsanto. But they're trying to wipe out organic farming. One of the things they find, their GMO plants are just pesticides that are masquerading as food. They're one of the things that their plants, we now know that these GMO and pesticide plants, their partner Bayer is doing, is they're wiping out the pollinators. They're causing the bee populations to collapse. Do you think Monsanto cares about that? No, its answer to that is we just invented pollination-free plants. So their GMO plants don't need the pollinators. So it's a good thing for them if all of the bees get wiped out. And that's why they bought Belogix, they purchased the biggest bee research facility in the world to stop them from telling the public the impacts that their products were having on small farmers. So this is a company that is actually targeting everything that we value as a people: the health of our children, the integrity of our democracy, the independence of our politicians, the robustness of our science and transparency. These people, I don't know how they sleep at night. They think, they go home, and raise your hand if you're a Monsanto lawyer. Go ahead. If you're embarrassed to raise your hand. Are you guys embarrassed?
Senator Food Safety, I'm on your side.
Okay. Well, these guys have to go home, and they have families, presumably. They go home and they sleep at night while these people have lost their father, are struggling to survive with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and these guys are arguing to shut them up, to stop them from talking, to stop them from complaining, to get out of the way because their company wants to make those profits. This is not a good example of ethical corporate behavior. This is the template or the distillation of the worst things that corporations can do to our people. And these people are heroes. They are standing up to farm workers and the farmers who are saying, you've taken my husband, you've taken my family member, you gave me a lethal disease, but I'm still going to stand up and fight for my vision, my realistic vision of our country that's not run by evil corporations. Thank you.